Production.
What's going on, guys? We're gonna do 2 NIO breakdowns this week. I wanted to do one today to kind of share with you guys a way that I like to journal my technical breakdowns. So my goal by doing this is I want to create a database full of chart patterns that will essentially, by doing this, help me recognize a stronger pattern from a weaker pattern whenever it comes up in the market. And the more and the more I do this, it'll help like sharpen my eye, or sharpen the Sharingan, as I'd say, right? So I like to do this, and I keep it in a journal in Evernote, and I just keep adding to it whenever I see patterns. So I'm gonna go through this little breakdown with you guys here on what I seen on NIO. So here we have the falling wedge, and why I think this is a good pattern is because there was a clear structured sell-off. Like we made a very sharp pullback, but after the pullback, it was a structured sell-off where it's clean, like it's almost like too perfect, you know what I mean? It's the perfect falling wedge. So that's why I described it as a structured sell-off occurring that phase. There's 3 solid touches of this bottom trend line here. Now every single time it came down to this trend line, there was a short-term trade opportunity in itself. This here was, I believe, a 30% bounce, a 20% bounce, and right now it's been like a 25% bounce, just off the bottom. So it's cool to be able to identify this for future times if we see a pattern very similar to this, right? The 4th entry to this pattern is at the break of the upper trend line, which could have been on April 21st there. So on April 21st, we got the confirmed breakout intraday. When we zoom in, once it crosses here, that could have been our entry to go long. So that's another factor we got to look for. And if we notice here, the bear volume, it decreases after we have this volume climax. So after we had this in February, we had a very sharp pullback in the market. NIO is one of the stocks where it got heavily affected, right? So it made a sharp pullback. We had a bearish volume climax, which indicates that there's going to be a bounce coming for the bulls, which happened. We had the bounce, but then we pulled back further. After this volume climax, the bearish volume is very low, and all the bull volume trumps the bear volume. That's how you know it's bottoming out. Like this pattern overall is bottoming, and I think we're getting ready to make that next phase up in the stock. It's not a guarantee, of course, but this is what I'm getting from reading the candlesticks and the volume. So that's what I like to do in terms of journaling the patterns. What I think is going to happen next in NIO is what I'll get into right now. So essentially what I want to see next from NIO is we want to see it basically ride the 8 EMA. We might have some trouble getting up towards this $46 range, but essentially if we could grind our way up and stay above the 8 EMA, that's all healthy signs that we want to look forward to, right? What we want to see now coming up into this earnings is, are we going to get that big bearish volume? The big bearish volume will indicate if this head and shoulders pattern is actually in play or not. So that is something we should keep an eye out. I am leaning more bullish with all this playing out here. The falling wedge is a bullish reversal pattern, so seeing this play out gives me the confidence that we're gonna continue grinding upward. But if the market wants to turn around, it'll turn around. But what I'm seeing overall, like when we look at the overall market and we check what the NAS looks like, a bull flag near all-time highs. I don't know. If you ask me, I think that's just gonna keep ripping higher. And if we look at SPX, it's very similar. It's like a bull flag shaping up near all-time highs. So the overall markets are looking really bullish. We might be able to see now these momentum stocks start to get that push again to drive the market even higher. So that's what we got for the beginning of this week's NIO breakdowns, because I'm going to be dropping another one on Wednesday. So peace, guys. Have a good week.